Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. Dunn. We're going to talk about ordinary annuities, sinking funds, and retirement investments in this screencast. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the calculator to do these calculations. We're going to use the finance app. I introduced that in a couple screencasts before when we were doing the mortgages. So I hope you got a chance to look at that and you'll see a different application of that application when we're talking about annuities and sinking funds. So have your calculator ready as we go through this. Specifically, what we want to do in this screencast are three things. Solve problems involving ordinary annuities, solve problems involving sinking funds, and discuss some other retirement savings options. But that's going to be very brief. Okay, so what is an ordinary annuity? An ordinary annuity is an account into which or out of which a sequence of scheduled payments are made. Typically, you are saving money in an annuity. Maybe you're saving it for college, maybe you're saving it for retirement, but it's long-term savings. We're not talking about your savings account that would be tied to your ATM card. We're talking about long time, way into the future kinds of savings, like saving for retirement. So I really want this to resonate with you and I want this to make sense to you. So think about how much money could you afford to save each month from your paycheck? If you were going to scrimp a little bit, cut back on going to restaurants or those fancy new shoes, about how much money could you afford to save each month from your paycheck? Is it $100? Maybe $200? Maybe $500? Let's say you save $200 every month from now until you retire. So what we're going to do is calculate how much money you would have saved. So here are the particulars. You're going to make a monthly payment of $200 at an interest rate of 7% for 45 years. So we're going to put that information in our calculator. I know there are formulas in your book, but I feel like they're somewhat complicated and it's easier to do on your calculator. So let's look at this. I'm going to press the apps button, enter for finance, enter for TVM solver, and that brings up this menu. And now we're going to put the figures in here. So we're making monthly payments for 45 years. So 12 times a year for 45 years. The interest rate is 7%. Present value is 0. You have no money saved to begin with. And then you start making a $200 payment. Actually, I want to make this negative. Some of you emailed me about this, but remember you're using this negative sign when you want something to be negative, not the minus sign. That's sometimes confusing on the TI-84. The future value is what we're going to be solving for. And PY here is 12 because we're making 12 payments per year, which changes the CY to 12 as well. Now remember, we're solving for future value, not present value. You've got to make sure you're on the right line. So what will be the future value of our money? So we're going to press alpha and enter. And look at how much money you'd have. $758,518 in about 94 cents. That's a lot of money, isn't it? But you know what? A lot of these savings, a lot of these retirement funds, sometimes an employer will match how much you contribute. Have you ever heard of that? Like where you have a company match. Maybe you actually work somewhere where there's a company match. So let's figure out how much money you would have if there was an actual company match. So if your company was matching those payments, that means you're doubling this amount and you're actually saving $400 a month. Solve for the future value with alpha enter, and you have over $1 million, actually over $1.5 million saved by just saving $400. I went back in and changed this. This isn't a monthly payment of $200. This is $400 because the company is matching your investment. And look how much money you have saved. $1.5 million. If there's one thing I hope you learn from this class is how much money you could have if you start saving early in your life. If you wait till you're my age, and I'm old. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But if you started saving at my age, you're going to have not even half of this much money. You're going to have like $300,000 saved, maybe $150,000 saved. But if you're retiring in 45 years, then you're going to have so much money saved. I can't stress that enough. Play with this. Play with how much you think you can set aside from your paycheck and then start doing it. Start doing it early. Okay. The next thing we need to do is talk about sinking funds. So to get out of this menu, by the way, you press second and quit. Did you see that? Second and quit gets you out of that app. Okay, so I'll show you that again in case you missed it. So once you're in the app, to get out of it, press second and quit. And that gets you back to the main screen. Okay, sinking fund. A sinking fund is a type of annuity in which the goal is to have a specific amount of money saved in a specific amount of time. So think about this backwards. So the first problem we did is we figured out how much we could save each month and saved it. Now we're saying how much do we need to have in the future and how much should we save to get there? So suppose you want to have $1 million saved by the time you retire in 40 years. You can get 7.5% interest. So what should you be paying every month to reach this $1 million goal? Once again, we could do this in our calculator. Apps, enter for finance, enter for TVM solver. This time, it's 40 years and 12 payments per month for 40 years. The interest rate in this problem is 7.5%. Present value is 0. The payment is what we're going to be looking for. Just make that 0 for now. The future value we want to have is $1 million. I want to make sure I have 6 zeros there. And once again, this is 12 payments per year and 12 compounding periods per year. So remember, we're calculating the payment. So alpha, enter with the cursor on top of payment, means we have to save $330.71 every month. That's not that big. That's not that large of amount of money, is it? $330.71. Think about it. You start saving that now, and in 40 years, you're going to have $1 million. Okay. The last thing I want to do is talk about some other types of annuities and retirement options. I encourage you to look at your book, and that's on page 623 in your text. And it goes through and explains these in a very cursory way, but gives you some information about these types of retirement options. Have you ever heard of an IRA? IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. In a traditional IRA, you are saving money from your pre-taxed money, so that could save you some money in income taxes. In a Roth IRA, then you are saving the money after you've paid taxes on it, which means you won't have to pay taxes on it when you start to use it. You could use a 401k plan. A 401k plan is when a bunch of companies invest all of their money together. So I'm sorry, a bunch of employees and in one company pull their money together and invest it in a bunch of mutual funds. And then there are other types of variable annuities and immediate annuities. I'm not even going to pretend to tell you that I know all about all of these because I don't. I don't have all the details. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a retirement planner, but I encourage you to read about them in your text. And I do greatly encourage you to start saving money now for your retirement. Even if you're only in your 20s, now you've got 40 years of money that's just going to be earning more and more money for you so you can retire comfortably. I hope you learned something from these screencasts, and I hope that you become a more educated consumer in the future. Good luck.